Warning, the following video may contain opinions that may differ from your own. If you are unable to comprehend this fact, then you are either stupid, close-minded, or just plain fucking retarded. If you are any of the above three, proceed with caution. If you are a combination of all three, I recommend that you go see a doctor, as there is a high chance you may be suffering from a severe case of mental retardation.
Japan, the land of the rising sun, home to samurai sushi and Japanese tentacle rape fetishes. If there's one fascinating aspect of this glorious island nation of Nippon that has captivated the world, is manga, specifically the steaming shitfest of the big three. In today's review/rant, I'll be diving into what I feel is the worst of the three: Bleach. Now, believe it or not, I had conflicting doubts raging inside my head. Should I review an anime that hasn't been finished? Then I said, fuck it, goddammit, this anime practically deserves to be torn and ripped to shreds. There's just so many things that are wrong with this goddamn thing. Now, before I start, let me make this statement before I get a million fanboys disliking and flagging this video. Bleach is not a god-awful anime. It isn't terrible. On its best day, it's merely time filler for me. Bleach is just like the next Dragon Ball Z. Just mindless action without a coherent story. If I were to give it a rating, then it would probably be a C. And believe me, I'm being generous. So, without further ado, this is my rant on Bleach. It's been over 11 freaking years since this anime debuted, and ever since I saw that final art color page on chapter 480, I let out a sigh of relief. Finally, this ridiculous anime can die peacefully without being milked for all its creativity. In terms of originality, what this show has is so small it makes Gin's sword practically look like the Eiffel Tower by comparison. But enough about swords for a while, let's look at our cast here. Here we got ourselves a spiky-haired, whiny teenager attending high school with a sympathetic yet predictable backstory that somehow gains magical powers that enables him to fight evil spirits with a gigantic sword. Real creative there, Taikubo. Way to go to shoot yourself in the foot with our lead protagonist. Seriously, this guy whines so much when he can't save his friends. Over and over and over again. And that's one of my main gripes. This anime is practically filled with every cliche I could think of. Let's see here, generic protagonist that wants to save his friend? Check. Useless side characters that don't serve the story or drop the plot at all? Check. A story with more plot holes than Swiss cheese? Check. Too much anime posing bullshit? Check. Introducing a shitload of characters that you won't invest in any emotion to do you barely knowing their history? Checkaroo. Big swords, big boobs? Is that compensation I smell, Japan? So, another big gripe against Taikubo is the layout of his manga chapters, and believe me, this is just a personal thing. We usually start out with an extremely stylized title sequence, something you would see from a PowerPoint presentation or a Flash animation. They wouldn't be so bad if they take about nearly a page or two to introduce. Seriously, just look at some of these. This is usually followed by an excessive amount of anime posing bullshit or extreme close-ups on characters' eyes without even drawing the background. Now, I'm not sure if he's just lazy or maybe he just want to place emphasis on their emotion, but yeah, I think it has to do more with the former and less with the latter. Okay, I know that this has been stated many times on countless forums, but fuck it, I'll say it again. Ichigo's friends are completely useless. Let's see here, we got a stuck-up Quincy that can't do anything. Over here we got a token big buff Mexican guy. And last but not least, this bitch here. Apparently she can somehow heal wounds by reversing the events that took place on that said wound, but that just opens more plot holes. Why didn't she heal Yamamoto's arm? Aizen himself said that she can even resurrect the dead, so why doesn't she bring back Ichigo's mom? And while Renji is constantly posing with his big sword compensation, the only true gem in this cast is the girl who started this entire series, Rukia. Personally, I think she has the most interesting backstory. Even though she's not that strong in combat, her witty banter with Ichigo is the only strong and unique thing about this show. More characters enter in the series, but all of them have much more interesting backstories than Ichigo's does. Mayuri, Kenpachi, and Byakuga all have backstories that are much more compelling than Ichigo's, but thanks to Kubo's shitty storytelling, all we ever get is a few panels in a manga, and if we're lucky, a flashback in the anime. Ironically, it was the introduction of these staple characters during the Soul Society arc that was the series at its peak. Despite the relative generic formula of Go Save Captive Princess, it did manage to install a genuine sense of suspense, since you never knew who these captains were to begin with, their backstories, or how Soul Society actually operate. Believe it or not, I actually enjoyed this arc and consider it to be one of my top 10 manga arcs I ever read. And Yeah, that's saying something. Then shit hit the fan, and ever since the Aranka debuted, it started rolling downhill. Now, you might be wondering to yourself why I chose to skip over the Bound arc and not mention it all. Simple, really. I harbor a deep-seated hatred towards fillers. I hate them. I hate them all. Nothing I say about this arc hasn't already been said, so skipping the dreadful fake vampires and into the next arc, we're introduced to what is essentially a ripoff of the original 13 goatee, followed by complete Super Saiyan over-the-top power-ups involving dildos through the head and costumes so ridiculous that even cosplayers find themselves embarrassed to be dressing up in. Now, is it just me, or did Tai Kubo forget about Grimjaw? Last time we see him, he was lying in a pool of his own blood when number 5 struck him blindside. Oh, yeah, and apparently he forgot the definition of proportionate power levels. Apparently number 1 was able to create an explosion roughly the size of several city blocks, yet Ukiyoda was able to generate a blast diameter roughly the size of Last Nachos. How come all the captains and Vizards didn't activate their Bankais at once? How come Aizen didn't just unleash his Shikai the first time he met Ichigo on Soul Society?